If you're selling the same way you were 10 years ago, I don't trust you.
Wow. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust, right? We've heard that before. Which of those three is the most important and why?
Trust is the most important. I got friends I like a whole lot. I would not go into business with them in a million years. The question everybody's asking is, can I trust you?
Okay.
It's before I buy from you, can I trust you? Before I take that advice, can I trust you? Before I put my kid on that school bus, can I trust you?
So I'm really keen to explore with you today your 8 pillars of trust and how they overlay on our ability to be able to sell more effectively.
So for salespeople, 1, you've got to be fresh, relevant, and capable in sales. You have to be fresh, relevant, and capable or competent in the product. And number 3, and this is most important, it shows in the research.
And I just wrote them as people, product, and profession. Is like,
Great.
That's what we're looking at, is competent on the
You're the
people.
great clarifier.
Yeah.
You're good with words, man.
I'm trying.
You should, people, product, profession, that's good. This is good.
That's good.
This is really good.
Right. And then they're encouraged to be able to build connection. Check this out. But we're not going to go there. We've got the music off. And you said you had something to say on this connection piece.
Well, I think, and now what was I going to say exactly?
So today I'm with David Horsager, and I got a real simple question for him from the get-go. Is people do business with those that they know, like, and trust, right? We've heard that before. Which of those three is the most important and why?
Absolutely. Trust is the most important. I got friends I like a whole lot. I would not go into business with them in a million years. We all think it's all about being liked, and it's great to be liked. But the question everybody's asking is, can I trust you?
Okay.
It's before I buy from you, can I trust you? Before I take that advice, can I trust you? Before I put my kid on that school bus, can I trust you?
Okay. Well, I knew you'd say that, which is interesting given you are the world's leading authority on all things trust, and that you believe there isn't a problem that cannot be solved without people bringing it back to trust in some way. It's like not a leadership issue, it's a trust issue.
Right.
It's not a marketing issue, it's a trust issue. It's not a recruit issue, it's a trust issue. I've heard you say that at least a gazillion times. But what we are talking about today is sales issues. See, everybody is in the business of selling something, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a product or service, an idea or an outcome, we're all selling something. So I'm really keen to explore with you today your 8 pillars of trust and how they overlay on our ability to be able to sell more effectively. I've scribbled them down here on my notebook so I don't miss any of these magical C's. But for the benefit of the people that are joining us in this conversation today, we're gonna hit these one at a time, and we're gonna look at saying, how do we avoid a mistake and how do we elevate our competence in these areas as well around these 8 pillars?
Remember to just say, they're research-based, so don't think of them as like, oh, David came up with these cute list of 8 C's to make something work. They are for clarity, I use these 8 C's, but they're really important. These are the 8 ways trust is built globally in sales. You've got to come back to these. It's one of these if you have an issue. It's not some other word, or if you have some idea like, oh, empathy, that comes under pillar number 2.
Okay.
You know?
So there are other words that are important, but you've put a huge amount of research behind this. You've worked with everything from military organizations to government organizations to some of the largest companies in the world to professional athletes and everything else in between. So I believe you, at least as the trust guy, that we should probably look to have some belief in this. So let's start with this first pillar around clarity. Where are there mistakes and challenges that salespeople have in particular where a lack of clarity or an inadequate relationship around clarity is costing them trust?
Absolutely. So first of all, clever does not win, clarity wins today. So people think being clever wins in sales, being absolutely clear. I've said it before, but like the lady at the opener salon said, oh, I want to call it this real fun Whispers on Main. Nobody came. Best Cuts by Barb. People came. Clarity wins. For the salesperson, for the leader, just for context, the clarity about vision might be more important. For a manager, clarity about expectations might be more important. For the salesperson, the most important part of clarity is the benefits of the thing you're trying to sell to them. So a lot of salespeople, are clear about how cool they are, how long they've been in business, or other things. But once you get clear, front and center, above the fold on the website, first thing out of your mouth in person, what are the benefits to me, the potential buyer? When you get clear about that, I might buy.
And that's the benefit of the benefit of the benefit almost, right? Like,
Totally.
So what? The clearer you get around that, the easier it is to be able to win. So it's to avoid complexity in place of clarity.
The counter forces there are ambiguity and complexity.
Okay. What about this second pillar of compassion? What are we looking to avoid there and what are we looking to do in its place?
One of the top words that came out of the research under this research funnel was intent. We trust those that have intent beyond themselves. They don't even have to care about me, but if they don't care about something missionally or someone beyond themselves, I don't tend to trust them. That tends to be a narcissist or something like that. So we trust people that care beyond themselves. So in this pillar for sales, you want to show, you think of Patagonia, they grew a ton when they knew that founder basically gave away the whole company. They gave it to missionalness beyond themselves. This idea that they cared beyond themselves, like that made others care about them. Individuals don't want to buy from, be accountable to, or follow someone that doesn't care beyond themselves. That's what the research shows.
So it demonstrates some degree of evidence that you care about something bigger than yourself. You care about more than your position on the scorecard. You care more about something that is of meaning than just leaving with a sale.
And for sales, if you can genuinely show you care about them, that person you're selling to, that matters. It's like, I've seen financial planners, they actually fake it, and they're actually trying to sell like an annuity or something that helps them the most, not the product that actually would most help the client.
Okay. Which leads to this third pillar of character.
Character. We trust those that do what's right or what's easy. We trust those that will do the thing in spite of what they feel like. Do the thing in spite of who's watching. You've heard the story on stage about my dad, like doing the right thing when he thought no one was looking. There's this. We trust character. Now, we thought character was everything. It's not everything, but it's key to sales. It's not everything, right? Next pillar, competency. I might trust you to take my kids to the ball game, but not give me a root canal.
Right.
Because of that.
We'll come to 4 in a second. I want to come back to this character piece as well, because typically speaking, people in sales roles don't necessarily have a good reputation. If I ask a room full of people for words that would describe stereotypical salespeople, this is not a compelling list of words. These are words that if somebody were use it to describe you, you'd be quite upset by it. So how does one go about demonstrating high levels of character in a sales role when they're often having to work against some preconceptions?
Well, a couple things that can help. First of all, for that person are thinking long-term instead of short-term, and having pre-decided values they live by. Pre-decided. So I've decided in spite of, because if I don't have pre-decided values, then I might take the more money, the quick thing to make money today, faster, better. But if I live by a pre-decided set of values, then that's going to help me in times of stress. It helps decision making get quicker for me as a salesperson. Like, be okay with saying no. Be okay with saying this isn't a good fit. Go buy a set of values, right? Like, this wouldn't be hard for a lot of people. I was speaking at an event. This just came to me. It's not trying to put a spotlight on me, but I was a couple thousand people there. I was going up the elevator. There's a big reception, all these people out there. And there was me and another woman in the elevator in a city at a convention. And we're on our way up the elevator. And I mean, it was like that. And I'm very friendly. I'm talking to people. And this lady, nice looking lady, said, "Are you here for the conference?" I said, "Yeah, I'm actually speaking tomorrow morning or whatever." She said, "Oh." And I mean, I remember still, I was on floor 8, she was on floor 9. That was the buttons pushed and we're the only ones in there. And about when we got to my floor, in that amount of time, she said, "You can come up to my room if you want to." I mean, how quick is that? And you and I both know people in our business that are traveling for work that have made decisions that have killed their life, their family, and everything. And of course, me on trust. And I've been married to one person, and but I mean, I pre-decide. I know as soon as that door opened, I was walking straight out.
Right.
But I know people that things have happened differently, and that's killed their business and everything else. So having pre-decided values, they could be all different ways, but it could be specifically around sales. I'm going to sell to people like this. I'm going to sell to people, we both have a friend that said, he said, "I'm only taking people that are giving to this cause $500,000. And I said, "What do you do when people say, they'll give you $100,000? He said, "No, That's not for this. This is for $500,000 and up. This is what this is for. That's whose name goes on this. Thank you. That's generous. You can give that to something, but only, I'm like, wow, that was like.
So it's having a set of values, standing by them, and doing the right thing regardless.
Making decisions by them.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think that shows up very much as well as knowing when to walk away from a deal, knowing when you're only going to say something that's going to sit within the lines of the expectations of what can be delivered. And so much of that character piece to me is about how you show up for the internal part of your team as well. Is that you don't make promises that make life difficult for the other people inside your organization. It's how that character part shows up in sales.
Yeah, that's a big word there, by the way. A lot of people in sales think it's all about saying yes, like, yes, go for it. Yes, yes. There's a lot of motivational stuff. The hardest word is, and the more important word is actually no. Mm-hmm. But if you don't learn and you don't have a set of values that help you say no to the good, the bad, but also the good, you won't have time and space for the incredible.
Right. And that sometimes is not being always available. That also sometimes is not 100%. Making promises that, you can call me any time of night, any time of day. I'm always going to be here for you.
Open door policy. That's terrible.
Okay. So what about competency? Competency is a pillar that I think if you're a doctor or a brain surgeon, etc., there's a level of competency that's quite clear. But where does competency show up as a sales professional?
If you're selling the same way you were 10 years ago, I don't trust you.
Wow.
You've got to stay fresh, relevant, and capable.
Okay.
And you have to take it on yourself to be, I think of people today, one way, you can be mentored, you can have a coach, you can get training. One of the pieces of research recently said, like, the average number of hours of junk TV a person watches that don't make them better, make them worse, is like 2,000 hours a year.
Wow.
The average number of books, and I have there's a big study in the first book that I wrote on the more books you read, the more money you make, and the more positive influence you have in the world. Not Goodnight Moon to your kids, but over 150 pages.
Okay.
The average number of books an American reads, of that number of pages and up, average number of books an American reads today, not annually, like
in their lifetime.
In their lifetime, how many? It's one after their furthest education. Yeah. So whether it's a PhD or high school degree. So I think about this often, like, that's something anybody can do, right? Obviously the news behind this one is it's bad time to be an author. Right. but the truth is people can do something about that. I know somebody that reads a book a week and has for years. So 52 books a year, that's what he reads. What is he? He's not arrogant. People that read 3 books in their lifetime, they know it all. Find someone when you're starting as a parent, and then you got some friend that's read a book or 3 books. Like, hey, you should do that, right? Find someone that's read 100 or 1,000 books. They don't know much.
Yeah.
They're humble. A counterforce to competency is arrogance. And we have to stay fresh and relevant and capable. So for salespeople, competency, 3 ways. 1, you've got to be fresh, relevant, and capable in sales. You have to be fresh, relevant, and capable or competent in the product, the developments of the product, the industry, and all that. And number 3, you've got to be, and this is most important, it shows in the research, as a human, like EQ, emotional intelligence, trust building, and all that. So you have to continually building these 3 competencies to be excellent as a salesperson ongoing.
And I just wrote them as people, product, and profession. Is like
Great.
That's what we're looking at. Is competent on the
You're
people.
You're the great clarifier.
Yeah,
you're good with words, man.
I'm trying.
You should.
I should maybe run with that.
I like that. I'm going to steal that from my next book.
You can borrow that. Competency around the people that you're in service of, and you, I mean, that's the language thing again.
I love it.
But you say you're going to steal it. You're not. You were just inspired by something.
People, product, profession. That's good. This is good.
That's good.
This is really good.
Right. And then the profession of it, because this is a sales profession, it's a competency that once you treat it like a profession,
I love that.
Forever practice. And commitment in a sales arena. We hear about like hustle and drive and keep showing up and put in the reps. And there is an old school definition, I think, of commitment that could be easily assumed in the sales profession. How does David Horsager think about commitment to a sales professional?
It's basically it's staying committed in the face of adversity. So if in the pandemic, you had people that jumped. I'm not saying people didn't need mental health help and other things, but it's like as far as trust is concerned, the fact is I'm going to trust someone that I believe is going to stick with me in the midst of that difficulty.
Okay.
So there's a couple parts of commitment. 1 is that you'll stick with me when it's hard. Okay. 2 is that you'll do everything possible to deliver on what you said. Now, some things change. You saw not too many years ago the whole, we thought we could get it there, and supply chain across the world changed. So then you have to leverage different pillars that are, you're apologizing, you're doing the best you can, but you're not making, many people in that time frame knew they could sell if they said they could get it there, knowing the whole time they could not get it there, right?
Yeah.
And then that long tail is still happening for those companies. Long tail of negative.
Yeah.
So this pillar also is where we find the 10-step process for rebuilding trust if you've lost trust, if you've ever lost trust, which we've all probably made a mistake or need to rebuild it. And let me just jump to point number 10, or the most important part of rebuilding trust. How do you rebuild trust? At the end of the day, whether you're a company with an oil spill or a leader with a moral failure at the top, there's only one way to rebuild trust if you have the opportunity to do it, and it is not the apology. I'm not saying don't apologize to open the door of communication and show humility, but you don't rebuild trust on the apology. Many people think, I'm sorry I'm late. You're not, you're late every time, right? So how do you rebuild trust? At the end of the day, the only way to rebuild trust is to make and keep a new commitment. It's the only way, if you have the chance. And even then it might take
multiple reps.
So
to displace. Okay. Connection. What do you mean by connection?
Well, it's what we found in the research is we trust those that are willing to connect and collaborate with others. And so they're willing to think through this. Like in a sale, this might mean really collaboratively thinking about not going in with the answers, but collaboratively thinking about what might be the best. Let's think about what could be the best product. And sometimes that's even showing it might not be mine and you'll win for life, even if it's not yours, but it's collaborative thinking, it's connecting. We see companies that actually incentivize a lack of connection by saying, hey, use that budget. If you don't use it, don't think about everybody else. Even if you don't need it this year, use that budget up or you're not getting in next year, right? Mm-hmm. And we just trained a lack of collaboration and connection for the whole. And sales teams do this. And this is challenging because we want in the sales space competitors. Yeah. We want them to win and we want them to collaborate. You have to think about how to motivate both, and you can.
And I think on this point also, it triggers a thought in my mind about the number of barriers that are often put into place for anybody that's needing to sell anything where it's harder to make connection because you either got to get through a gatekeeper or there's a bureaucratic purchase order process to be able to work through, or that you just literally given zero time. I think about a client I was working with last week in the medical device industry, and they are perpetually blocked from being able to get to speak to the stakeholders, and then they're encouraged to be able to build connection. Check this out.
Well, it's time to dance. That was amplified. That was a good point. I got something to say.
So it's funny when we're talking about connection that what we have is music start playing in the background, like it's gonna start to become some form of highly connected moment. But we're not gonna go there. We've got the music off. And you said you had something to say on this connection piece.
Well, I think, and now what was I gonna say exactly?
You lost connection?
Yeah. How do you, the question, okay, this is it. The question under this pillar for salespeople is to think about what will connect with the people I want to connect with, or where are they connecting? So some people say, oh, I'm connecting by sending a newsletter. Well, nobody reads it. Or I'm connecting by this. Where do they want to
connected on LinkedIn?
Right, yeah. Where do your people want to be connected with? You might have to go to that meeting. You might have to go to them in person. You might have to give them something else. You got to think of the question here is, how can I connect with my people best?
So it's meet them where they're at, instead of trying to get them to you.
Yep.
Okay. We got two more pillars in this arena of sales, and the penultimate one is contribution.
Contribution, really, the number one word on that research funnel was results. You've got to contribute results to be trusted. So, you can be compassionate, you can be high character, but if you don't deliver the results I expected or asked for, I don't trust you. So you sold me this thing, but then it wasn't this thing, or it didn't give me this results, or on a farm you sold me this fertilizer and I didn't get yield in my corn. I got a problem. So, you're the most compassionate surgeon I ever met. We had amputation. You cut off the wrong leg. We got a problem, right? So you've got to deliver the results you sold me or I expected. And so if you want to sell to me again. And
there are a lot of people that, particularly that listen to this channel and are crossing over my work, that are either in the coaching, training, speaking space, they're in the info product space, etc. And there's a lot of talk around if somebody buys something from you, you sell something to someone and then they don't get the results that they were hoping to be able to get. There's a blame that's put back on them, like they didn't follow the program right, they didn't take the action that was presented inside the information. What's your take on that from a contribution point of view and the impact on trust?
First of all, your biggest risk as a salesperson is losing trust. And you lose trust whenever you blame. There are lots of reasons that you will lose trust, right? So I lose trust when I don't deliver on what I say. I lose trust if I lie. I lose trust if I'm arrogant. I lose trust. But one of them is I lose trust if I said I would do something and didn't deliver on that thing. So,
well, I mean, we look at it when we're in the business of selling something that is hypothetical, a training program, a speech, an info course, etc. That if it doesn't deliver upon its promise, the blame sometimes gets put on them that I didn't get my money's worth.
By the way, it can be that. But whenever you blame, just know that you lose trust. So this it can be a social media nightmare. It's a big risk losing trust. So this is where the promise that maybe it's or your money back, or maybe it's being super clear. Like there's a person today that sells a fit body to people that make 150,000 or more, or something like that. It's like, hey, here's the deal. Right up front. If you do not commit this much time every day, if you will not eat these things, if you will not do these, uber clear, you are not going to get these results. So that is on you. And so it's kind of like that over clear being over clear about the results you'll get if you don't stay committed to these things.
And being prepared to say that you're only going to bring people on board where you have the belief that the contribution that you're positioning to make, the hope that they have attached in that transaction is going to deliver on that promise, and you believe and they believe it's going to get there.
And he has an application process, for example, for that very reason.
100%, and I get it. And we both charge obnoxious sums of money to speak in front of audiences for short periods of time, and I'd like to think that we give thoughtful thought to that it's worth it.
Well, I say we have it in ours just to that point, that if we do not meet or exceed expectations, you can have your money back. And we've had that for 25 years, 100 audiences a year, and no one's taken it yet. Hopefully we're doing it. And I know times, I know I've gotten better too, because I want to feel like I over-delivered. I want to make sure.
And I get that on pricing as well, is people are like, no, you have to charge what you're worth. And it's like the circumstances dictate what you're worth as well. Is I can give the speech at my 6-year-old's kindergarten class and I'm probably not worth it. I'm probably not worth it. It might go great, but
there's another idea under this results piece. Yeah, exactly that. But you should, there's people online selling that everybody should increase their price. And not everybody should. They're not worth it. They shouldn't. They're not contributing that result. And that's just hurting them because they're not taking the incremental way up of delivering value.
Got it. So if we want to increase our trust in sales, we need to work on our clarity, our compassion, our character, our competency, our commitment, our connection, our contribution. And then we need to do all of that with the 8th pillar around consistency.
Sameness is trusted. Consistency is trusted, for good or bad. If you don't even have to like something. I mean, you may not like McDonald's, but I've had the same exact McDonald's burger on 6 continents. It's sameness is what I trust. Like I know you're going to show up the same way every time. You're going to be prepared every time. You're going to be, all these other things. Of course, it's hopefully prepared in a good way. Hopefully,
So consistently, one thing I've seen with sales professionals in all of my time working with them is that what they will do is they will sprint with activity and drive some results, and then they will feast on that, and then they'll find themselves in a famine, and then they'll be consistently inconsistent.
Well, and I know that the salespeople I want on my team are ones that will do the little things every single day. We say it in our office, it's the little things done consistently that make the biggest difference. One big sale, that was great, fun, flash in the pan, but I want someone that's going to do the little things that lead to consistent sales. The little things done consistently make the biggest difference.
So the big idea there really is consistency over activity, effort, and action, as opposed to consistency over results, because the consistent actions over a period of time will bring a more predictable outcome over time.
Predictability.
Okay.
Little things. So we have one other point under consistency we could say, and that is every single interaction you have with every single person, you increase or decrease trust. So the way you talk to your kids this morning, they trust you a little bit more, a little bit less. The way you showed up at that sales meeting appointment last time, you increased or decreased trust. Every interaction. You showed up, you were great the first time, but you showed up unprepared the second time. You were kind the first time, you gossiped the second time. Every interaction, this is the weight of trust. And the work of trust is that we're all imperfect, but every interaction you have with someone, you increase a little bit or decrease a little bit. I watched a meeting one time when they had a consistent 20-year relationship, and then one guy blew up and threw a clipboard across the boardroom, and they never spoke again. And that was the beginning of the downfall of a company between a CEO and chair of a board because of a massive inconsistency one time.
And I think what you've just hit upon there is where individuals start to be able to lose relationships in a sales environment. It's new customers only, love on people while they're in the growth mode. When you're in client acquisition, everything is no problem. The level of service, attention, responsiveness is at an all-time high. And then what happens is once that customer gets taken for granted, once there starts to become an assumption that they're always going to be there and their focus is on the next net new, that consistency is a giant risk that can have them feeling less loved.
Horst Schulze, the founder of Ritz-Carlton, one of my favorite books, and I got to know him a little bit and interviewed him and whatnot. But he says, number one is taking care of the clients you have, not getting new clients. Number one key to business is taking care of them long term. It's way cheaper to keep someone than it is to go after someone new. So only consistency does that.
Which is a challenge when you're incentivized to say, go get me a new one, not keep me with the one you've already got. But that's a story for another day. So if we want to be more trusted in sales, give thoughtfulness to how clear you are, show up with more compassion, go to work on your character, never lose faith in the fact that doing the right thing is always the right thing, show up with the right levels of competency for both the people, the product, and the profession at large, have a level of commitment that means that you always meet your promises, go to work on the connection even when the connection is hard to make, which means you might have to meet more people where they're at, show up with a meaningful contribution that means that when people give you money, they get more than their money's worth, and have a level of consistency that says the way that you do everything is the way you do anything.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave.
It takes work.